Hello, this is Kevin Geyer. I'm a student in Professor Toller's English 201 class, and in this video, I will be arguing why the United States government should implement a universal basic income of $1,000 a month. When was the last time you spoke to a real person at customer service? That frustration is a symptom of a much larger change in the American workforce. AI and automation are taking over industries such as call centers, software engineering, and truck driving, and will continue to expand until almost no sector of the economy is untouched. This is not to say that technology is an enemy. Innovation will inherently drive prosperity in some form, but as the wealth gap continues to increase, it has become clear that the United States must either adapt or risk abandoning their citizens. Recent figures from the Federal Reserve indicate that the top 0.1% own nearly 15% of America's wealth, compared to around 3% held by the entire bottom 50%. This divide has accelerated as corporations replace workers with AI and automation to cut costs and boost profits. A potential solution to this growing problem is Universal Basic Income, or UBI for short, a system where the government provides cash payments to citizens as a foundation for financial stability. The most popular number thrown around in the US is an income of $1,000 a month. And in this video, I want to make the case for why that number could be the solution we're looking for. The influence of artificial intelligence in the American labor market has actually been underway for longer than people realize.
Like the first administrative and clerical includes call center workers, and AI is in the process of taking over that job. Retail and sales, 30% of malls are closing in the next 4 years. So the danger here is to think of it as artificial intelligence is coming. It's actually already eating up the most common jobs in our economy, and it's driving Americans into distress in various ways in the numbers.
The clip you just heard is Andrew Yang, a former presidential candidate who made universal basic income the centerpiece of his campaign. Although this clip is from 7 years ago, Yang's warning is so noteworthy because his early predictions are the reality we now are in. Automation is restructuring the entire employment sector and removing the need for entry-level positions across the board. If meaningful policy response is not created, the next generation of Americans entering the workforce will be fighting for scraps as the capabilities of AI improve exponentially. Critics of universal basic income frequently argue that an unconditional $1,000 a month for each citizen will diminish the work ethic of Americans and create a dependency on the government. This concern is rooted in U.S. history. Decades of Cold War tensions between capitalist and communist movements fostered a deep distrust of government wealth distribution, and American culture has long valued self-reliance. Here's the thing. $1,000 a month for every adult is generally not enough to live on. The money serves as a safety net, not a replacement for work. Citizens could use it to pay for rent, groceries, utilities, healthcare, etc., or invest in education, job training, or startups. Despite some resistance from politicians and the general population, UBI isn't as radical as it might seem. Real-world programs have already demonstrated their viability on a large scale. In 2010, Iran implemented a UBI experiment that distributed funds to nearly its entire population of 73 million, with the funds making up 9% of the average household income. A study on the experiment noted no meaningful negative effect on labor supply, and workforce participation actually increased among women. Closer to home, Alaska has been practicing a form of UBI since 1982. The Alaska Permanent Fund sets aside a portion of oil royalties to pay out annually to residents, and it's remained popular across party lines and has not deterred Alaskans from working. Although these programs aren't a perfect blueprint for the entire United States, both demonstrate UBI functioning effectively without producing the economic collapse that critics predict. Risks that come with implementing UBI for an extended period should still be acknowledged. Researchers Darish and Fernandez caution that the more important consequences of UBI are intergenerational, warning that a poorly designed program could produce long-term welfare losses and labor shortages of its own. This is why UBI cannot be implemented as a standalone policy. It needs workforce investment, proper funding to prevent inflation, and a modest tax on automation profits and top earners. In the long run, UBI is meant to emphasize the needs of workers over corporations, not completely dismantle capitalism. For a nation that prides itself on opportunity, far too many Americans are watching their livelihoods vanish, replaced not by competitors, but by machines. As AI and automation reshape the economy, the United States government needs to act. A universal basic income of $1,000 a month would reduce inequality and give workers a real financial buffer while they find their footing. UBI experiments in Iran and Alaska have proven that the idea can help citizens without harming the economy. Americans shouldn't just ask whether universal basic income is realistic, but also whether they can afford the consequences of inaction. Thanks for watching.